Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning out there in Blog Talk Radio land. It's been a little just exciting morning. I'll use that word. But I want to start with a powerful thought to drop into your mind this morning, and it's the past cannot be changed. The future is yet in your power. The past cannot be changed, and we do keep trying to change it. The past cannot be changed. Got to let it go and take the lessons that we learn from it with us. The future is yet in your power, and the point of power is right now. You can make a decision right now, and I'm thankful for those of you who made the choice right now to tune in to Off the Shelf. We know was yesterday the book authors day, and this month is November National Novel Writing Month. So I hope you go out and get a great book. I'm going to tell you about one before we start today's show that I hope you get, and then our guest will talk to you about her novels. But I just want to tell you, as far as making a powerful choice right now, you made a great choice, not just because it's National Novel Writing Month, but you're listening to the winning book radio show, Off the Shelf, and I welcome you to this Saturday, November the 3rd show. Just want to thank you, especially to our loyal listeners. We're going into our 14th year, so I want to thank our loyal listeners who've been with us and those who might have just clicked over this morning. And as I've started our shows, and you're going to hear me change this in a few months, when God is Glory is a book I'm working on comes out. But I want to ask you, how good of a mystery sleuth are you? You know, every weekend I watch Columbo. I love a mystery, and I remember when it was a novel by Agatha Christie came out in movie format maybe about a year ago, and it happened on a train. I think it was the Orient Express. I tried to figure out who did it before the movie revealed it. If you're one of those people, and if you also value, now this has to be important to you to really appreciate Love Pour Over Me. Do you value human relationships? Not just what you can get out of a relationship from somebody, and we don't go into relationships if we don't think they can benefit us in some way. If I'm with this man, I'll feel safe. If I'm with this person, I don't have to worry about my finances as much anymore. I won't have to feel as lonely. Every last one of us goes into a relationship that we think we can get something out of it. But also when you go in to give, what can you give? How can you help another person as long as you don't stay in an abusive relationship? If that is important to you, and not only that, but you're interested in how do I influence and impact other people, and you do, and how do other people influence and impact me, and they do, I think you'll love Pour Over Me. It's a book about a guy. He's from Ohio, and he's a middle distance runner, and he is on his way to the Olympics. He's also academically very, very talented. But he comes from a troubled home. His mom left when he was 2, and his dad has untreated alcoholism. That alone will stop. I mean, if it don't stop you, it's going to leave you with some signs that occurred. Other people can see something happen to you. They can see it. It'll leave some signs of it. And it does on him. But he goes to college, and he meets a woman named Brenda, and how we influence each other. And he also meets 4 friends. These are real, true, to-the-bone friends. If you enjoy relationships, not only a soulmate relationship, but friendships, and if you also like mystery, because there's a murder mystery tucked in this book, I encourage you on National Novel Reading Month to go out today, right now, and get a copy of Love Pour Over Me. You can get it in ebook or print. I really encourage you to get a copy. I think you will love the book and learn a lot about not only the characters but yourself as you read Love Pour Over Me. If you don't see it on the store shelves or the library shelves, just ask the clerk to order you a copy of Love Pour Over Me by Denise Turney, and they can get you a copy because it's carried by the largest book distributors in the world. And now, let us go and meet our very special off-the-shelf guest. And our special guest this morning is CASSIETTA Jefferson. I was trying to pull her in on the line earlier, and I don't know if she has stepped away, but I didn't hear anything, so I'm hoping she's ready to go. So our special off-the-shelf guest this morning is CASSIETTA Jefferson. And let me tell you a little about this phenomenal woman. CASSIETTA is a contemporary Christian author. She is a book reviewer and blogger who is the founder of Virtuous Ink Publishing. She has a Bachelor of Applied Science in Healthcare Administration from Wayland Baptist University. And CASSIETTA is also the author of a chapter in a book we've discussed here a couple of times on Off the Shelf, and it's an anthology titled Arise from the Ashes. Title of CASSIETTA's story in Arise from the Ashes is Not Forgotten After the Storm. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, says the Lord, which is from Isaiah 55:8. And that is the scripture that is behind CASSIETTA's story, Not Forgotten After the Storm, and Arise from the Ashes. CASSIETTA is also the author of the book Shades of Brown, Be Still and Know, and Timing is Everything. We are honored to have CASSIETTA Jefferson with us on Off the Shelf Book Talk Radio this morning. Welcome to Off the Shelf, CASSIETTA. And I don't know if she stepped away or... Okay. This I don't know what has happened. If you're on the line, CASSIETTA, would you please hang up and try to dial in again? Because you're not coming through the connection. So could you please hang up if you're on the line and dial in again? Because the connection's not working. While CASSIETTA is hanging up and dialing in again, I want to repeat the quote for this morning, and I want to tell you how important almost 14 years on the radio, you have to learn how to just go with the flow, always have a backup plan, and that's also in life. But the past cannot be changed. You don't let anything in the past stop you, but you get lessons from it. And the future is yet in your power, and the point of power is right now. So we're going to see if we can get CASSIETTA on the line. CASSIETTA?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You sound a little muffled, but we can hear you this morning. We want you coming through strong for our off-the-shelf listeners who are excited to hear what you have to share this morning, and that's one lesson learned. Keep moving. No matter what happens, just keep going and find a way. It is a pleasure to have you with us this morning, CASSIETTA, and I thank you for being patient and stepping out and then dialing back in. So the first few questions that I'm going to ask you this morning, CASSIETTA, I ask every off-the-shelf guest just to give our listeners a little backstory before we go right into talking about their writing and their books. So to begin, can you tell off-the-shelf listeners where you grew up and what life was like for you growing up?
Okay. Well, first of all, my name is Cassetta. It's pronounced Cassetta. So we didn't get to chat earlier, so you didn't know that. Life for me, I grew up. Yes, ma'am. So I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, and life was normal. You know, my mom and dad. I have 10. Well, there's 10 of us. I have 9 brothers and sisters, 7 brothers and 2 sisters. And it was fun. There was always something going on. There was always something to do, and we were always in church. My mom and dad raised us in church, so we were always at church for something, for some reason. We sang in the choir. My mom played the piano. You know, we were just, you know, it was normal life for us to be always going somewhere or being active in our church.
Okay. And how many siblings did you say you had? Las Vegas?
There's a total of 10 of us. I have 7 brothers and 2 sisters.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'm pulling for the girls. I'm pulling for you girls. I'm sure you grew up tough. That people probably like, oh, okay, nothing. Stop. Cassetta, is that right? Tell me I'm saying it right.
Cassetta.
Okay, so Cassetta, what did you dream of becoming when you were a little girl?
When I was a little girl, I really didn't. I went from being a model to being a singer to being a businesswoman. When I was about, I would say probably 12 or 13, I started writing just, for fun and just, it started enjoying writing for school. And probably not until I was much older, in my 30s, did I ever consider that I could actually be a writer and be an author. So that's when that dream came about.
Oh, so you started, was there anybody in your family who was a writer? Why would you, a lot of kids don't write. And some kids you have to almost force them to read a book. So what do you think inspired you as a child to have you to actually sit down and start writing?
I really don't know. There was nobody in my family who was a writer, but they always encouraged me to read. And so I used to read from a little girl, maybe 2 or 3. I used to, hold the books upside down and read the pictures, to my siblings. And they were, and my cousins, as they were washing their hands, getting ready for dinner. I remember doing that quite often. That was, I used to look forward to that. So I was always an avid reader, and I think that's what kind of propelled me to write, because I would read things and I would kind of find myself finishing the story or rewriting it in my mind, wanting it to be different. So I think that's where it came from.
Oh, okay. And you know what? It's interesting for going into 14 years on Off the Shelf, how people got started in their writing career, and that's something for me as the host of the show. I enjoy hearing. We've had people from all over the country on Off the Shelf. Some just knew that, and some it came as a dare, a friend daring them. You can't write a novel, and then that's how they got started. And then some, like you, it's just like almost a natural flow into it. But you started writing, you said, when you were about 13, from a household of 10 siblings and 2 girls and the rest 8 boys. But at 13 you started writing, but you really didn't start. You were in your 30s, you said, when you started on your first novel. What do you think? Did you just get busy? We get busy living life, and sometimes we get off our path. But what do you think? Did you continue to write through that whole period, or did something happen where you stopped writing and then something inspired you to pick up that pen and start using your gift again?
Well, I never thought I was quite good enough. I would write little stories when I was a teenager, and somebody found it and made fun of me. And so I just stopped. I was like, well, maybe it is kind of silly. So I stopped writing. And that kind of made me kind of stop and think, well, maybe I'm not really as good as I think I am. So as I got older and more confident in what I was writing, and, reading as much as I read and not really being able to read the story that I actually wanted to, someone said, why don't you write what you want to read? And so that's where it kind of started.
And you know what? That puts me in mind of that Toni Morrison quote. You don't see a book out there you want to read, then you should write that book, because there's probably somebody else like you who would want to read that story as well. Now, Cassetta, I better say it right, Cassetta, how did you get involved with the anthology Arise from the Ashes?
Oh, well, this was kind of I dared myself to write it. I'd known Paulette. I'd worked with Miss Paulette Harper, who is the brains behind the anthology. And she kind of put it out there, and I'm like, well, there is a story that I kind of wanted to share. It's not for me. You know, the Bible says we're overcome by the power of our testimony. So it's been here. It's been inside me. I should share it. And so I kind of dared myself to do it. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write it, and I'm going to get it out there before I change my mind. And so I spent a couple of days. It only took me about 2 days to, you know, compile all the memories and go through all the feelings and get it out and get it written. And I hit send before I can change my mind. So that's what it really was, a kind of a dare to myself.
Oh, but you and Paulette, how long had the two of you known each other? So that she just told you about, you know, I'm working on this anthology. You had known each other before, because I don't think that's the first anthology that Paulette has put out. But that's how you learned about it.
Well, she didn't tell me about it. You know, I follow her because we work together. I blogged, I reviewed some of the books from her. So, you know, we kind of work together, and I know she always puts out a good product. I've read, I'm a fan first. You know, I've read some of her books, and, you know, I think she's amazing. And so when I saw the post about it, I kind of thought about it, and I kept seeing it. And, you know, it seemed like the same post kept coming across my feed. And then I emailed her for some information. She sent me some information, and I thought, what better anthology to join than one titled "Arise from the Ashes," given my story. So I pulled the trigger.
Well, we're glad that you did. Can you tell us about your story in the anthology, Arise from the Ashes, and your story? Cassietta's story is not forgotten after the storm. Could you tell us about your story?
Sure. My story, and I'm glad I did too. It was really healing. You know, they say that there's healing in the pen, and writers, what we do is we kind of bleed onto the page, and that's literally what happened. My story is about life during and after miscarriage. I've had a series of miscarriages in my life, and I didn't really understand what God was doing and where he was taking me, what he was trying to show me. And there was a lot of hills and valleys, and it's basically about how he walked me through that period of time.
Oh, you know what? I have to tell you, I worked with a lady at the College of New Jersey, and I actually was pregnant at the time. And when I very first started, and she had like 5 miscarriages, and she said it's so hard. And she and her husband were going. I forget what type of doctor they were going to see. Where she said, if you really want to take the passion out of your relationship, do that. Where you have to have sex at a certain time when you're most likely to be ovulating. And she just said, you know, she wouldn't recommend it. So she asked me, what do you think I should do? She was thinking about adopting. And I told her, I said just what I felt. Don't do anything. And I said, and just enjoy each other. And I said, that's when I thought she would get pregnant. She told me she was so mad at me, she could have punched me in the face. But that's what she did. And she went on to have 3 babies.
Wow.
And then not because of that, but she said the hard way she was trying to do that. But that loss. And then last year, that son I was pregnant with passed. So you never know what life is going to bring, but to share our stories about this is what I've gone through to this point. And I can only imagine how many women your story could bless. Just unimaginable. how many women your story could bless. Do you touch on, this is something for whether a woman loses a child later in their life, such as I did, or is the baby's born a stillborn or miscarried. There's this guilt that comes for mothers. I don't know if fathers deal with it as well. I'm told anybody grieving tends to deal with it. What did I do wrong? I shouldn't have went to work. I shouldn't have went to the gym. I shouldn't have ate that. Do you touch on that in your story?
I do. As a matter of fact, and I asked that very same question to myself. Because I had a glass of wine before I realized I was pregnant. Was it the exercise? My office at the time was on the 3rd floor, and for exercise, I would run, not walk, run up and down the 3 flights of stairs. And I was like, was it the exercise? Was it all the, the food that I ate? Was it all the coffee? I'm a big coffee drinker, so I was like, was it all the coffee? Was it the caffeine? It's none of that. It really, in my case, it was none of that. It wasn't anything I ate. It wasn't anything I did. It just happened. And it's something that happens to a lot of women. And once we get past the guilt of we did this or something wrong with us or we're defective in some way, the rest is cake. The hard part is getting out of your own way and stop blaming yourself for something that was not your fault.
And that's I think for a mom, that some of us it can take days, months, some years. That guilt, and Charles Stanley was actually preaching about false guilt yesterday. He said that really burdens a lot of people. It's tragic how it can do a number on you. So hopefully, if you're a mom listening to Off the Shelf, and maybe if you're not, you may not catch the show live today, but in the archives, the archives stay up generally indefinitely. You might come past this show 2 years from now and tune in and have had a miscarriage, and something said could bless you. But I would encourage you to let that false guilt go, because it can really do a number on you if you hold on to it. It can really burden you down. So how far along were you? And if any of it is like a question you don't want to answer, let me know. But how far along were you when you experienced like your first miscarriage?
Okay. Well, the first one was actually an ectopic pregnancy, and I was about 8 weeks, maybe coming up on my 8th week.
Okay. My heart goes out to you. And how do you honor? Is it something like, do you honor your child? Because some people do this. Again, for me, when my son passed last year, I said I would give to like charities that help children. I want to start a scholarship in his name, and I wrote working on a story about him. I said I will never write another novel without a character named Gregory in it. But is that something you did to try to help you to heal? Did you do something to try to, I want to do this to honor my child?
I didn't for a very long time. It took me years. But how I honor my children, my miscarried children, is I live every day, and I live every day to the fullest. And I have so many nieces and nephews that I literally spoil rotten. And so that's how I honor them, is I live my life and I live to the fullest, and I love children.
What a blessing! What a blessing that you didn't go the other way and say I don't want to even be around kids, because it would be too painful. So that's a blessing. What would you say? What did you say in your story? And again, we're talking to CASSIETTA Jefferson. and she is the author. She has a story in the anthology Arise from the Ashes. It's available, you guys, at Amazon, and her story is titled Not Forgotten After the Storm. And her story has to deal with miscarriages that she had. What would you say, Cassetta, and I'm so afraid to say your name wrong now, but what would you say to a mother who is going through what you went through? What would you say to that woman who's maybe just yesterday, maybe just last week? What would you say to her?
I would say hold on. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope for more children if that's what you decide to do, is to try again. There is hope, and there is it's going to get better. It's hard right now, but it's going to get better. Just hold on to your faith, and hold on to your hope.
Yes, yeah, and that's a great message. It just, and keep, as hard as it is, because some mothers do get stuck in grief, and they can get stuck there for decades. You just have to make a commitment to, as painful as it is, and I think this is the worst thing anybody could go through is to lose a child, is I'm just going to keep going forward. Slowly, and get support. Whether you're I'm in an online support group. Just get support from people who've been through what you've been through. They've been through it. They're not talking to you from reading the Bible or any other religious book. They've been through it. So that's your best support. People who've been through what you're going through. They can encourage you. They can tell you about how painful or the struggles they're going through, and you can relate. And you can share things with them in a safe environment, getting that support, getting outside and getting out and getting some exercise, whether you take a walk or go running or swimming, getting outdoors in that natural sunlight is very good. You don't want to get to where it's been 6 months and you haven't stepped outside. So you want to practice self-care. Your child would want that for you as well. Now,
that's true.
You also wrote, yes, you also wrote, timing is everything. Now, this one piques my interest. You also wrote timing is everything, as did your other story, but something about that title, timing is everything. Can you give us an overview of timing is everything?
Sure. Timing is everything. You know, that one was actually written on a dare. Somebody said, I bet you can't write a book in 7 days. I bet you can't. So I did. And that's what I wrote. It's a short story. It's about high school sweethearts who've gone through, they've grown up, they've experienced life. Life has happened. And their timing, he's had a crush on her. She's had a crush on him. They've been in love, but not at the right time. Their timing has always been off. And it's basically about how they manage to stay friends, and how if you just ride the wave with God, how his timing is so perfect that when you get to the end of the story, you'll understand why it never worked out with anybody else, or why situations never quite worked out like you thought they should. But you just have to hold on to get to the end of the story to experience the perfection of God's timing.
Now, why did Taryn take so long to let Jefferson know how he really felt about her? Why did he take so long?
Sometimes we don't get it. Sometimes it's right in front of us, and we know we feel a certain way. But we don't, we think better is out there, or it should look this way, and it doesn't look this way. It looks, that's not what I anticipated. That wasn't how my Prince Charming was supposed to act, or that wasn't what he was supposed to be, and we're supposed to be this way. We get in our own way so much when what you need and what you desire is right in front of your face. And so the reason that she took so long is because their timing was off. She never felt like the timing things were as perfect as she wanted them, and she didn't think she was good enough when when the time finally came, she didn't think that she was good enough. You know, we get in our own way, and it was basically trying to show the reader, you know, sometimes kind of step out of yourself and find what you're really looking for.
Now, how much time did pass? Because, you know, sometimes they say if you wait too long, you're going to miss out. Somebody else can come along and take that job, get that house, get that relationship. You waited too long. Or sometimes the timing is, as a novel, again, this is National Novel Writers Month, is and I hope you guys go out there and get a ton of good books. Goodness knows I love to read, and I plan to read this weekend. But you can wait too long to put out a book. The timing for it, when maybe the interest for it is high, or the market isn't saturated with that novel yet. You wait 2 more years, and the market may be saturated, and you won't get as many sales. Same with music. With a CD, you could come out too early, and people don't understand the work, and then it doesn't sell. Or you could come out too late, and people are tired of it because the market's now been oversaturated. So all that said, when we talk about timing is everything, how much time did pass? Because, you know, and there's a lot of changes happen in time. How much time did pass before how much time passed for Turney and Jefferson for their relationship did work?
In that book, I think something like 10 or 15 years had passed.
Wow.
And sometimes you wait too long and time runs out and you miss your opportunity. But sometimes you're just put on pause for a minute so you can go through things, experience some things, and grow up a little bit before now you can go and experience what what you were meant to experience. And I feel that way about everything. And I trust God in everything. I'm a big believer in prayer and listening. So where I use my time for prayer, and then I meditate to try to listen, to see, okay, now, Lord, what do you want me to do now? So I think it's so important in order to get your timing right, not to get ahead of yourself and get ahead of God, and not to wait too long when he's pushing you to go. It's how important it is for you to actually go ahead and do what you're supposed to be doing.
Now, why is timing important? I'm thinking here, we know the point of power is right now. So let's say I want to do something right now, and I've seen people say, I want to start my business, so I'm going to quit my job now and go focus on my business. But then maybe the business doesn't take off. Maybe if you would have waited 5 more years, it would take off. But the desire is strong right now. Why is that right timing so important? And how do you know when the time is right? Like, how would Turney and Jefferson know it's right now to take our relationship in this direction? How do you know?
Well, you just have to trust. You have to trust your source. See, my source is God, so I have to trust that when he says go, it's time for me to go. And then you have to trust yourself. Okay, when he says go now, start that business now, you have to just trust yourself that you're capable and you're ready. And the same goes for relationships. If you get that unction to go, to move, that's what you have to do. And you have to trust that God has the situation and the timing, and it's time now. And then trust yourself, because we all have that built-in lie detector, or it's intuition or whatever you call it, that says nope, not quite right, or this relationship, something is not right. Go with that. Trust yourself. Trust the God in you that tells you that's not right, or it's not time, or now it's time. Go. So it's all about trust.
Okay, and so from listening to you, like with Turney and Jefferson, and timing is everything. Something in us generally will let us know, and then that's why I think meditation and dealing with past issues, as the quote at the start of the show said, once you get all that past junk out, you have a better, clear connection to hearing from Source. So you might have some even if it's therapy, some be stilling and knowing to work through so that connection, the communication from your higher self comes through with clarity. Can you tell us now about your book, Be Still and Know? Timing is everything, and now be still and know.
Yes, Be Still and Know. That's my first baby. That was my first book. It took me about 12 years or so to put that out because I just, it was a lot of doubt and, it's not good enough, and this isn't like so-and-so's book, and so-and-so's been doing this forever. So, so that was my first leap of faith, and I'm so proud of that book. It's about redemption in a nutshell. It's about redemption. And how, no matter what you've done, no matter your past, no matter your mistakes, God still loves you, and He's waiting for you to come to Him. And that's basically the book was about her natural father waiting however long it would take for her to come to Him. And so it's the same as our Heavenly Father is waiting for us. He's, to come, no matter what you've done. Don't feel, we were talking about guilt earlier, all the guilt from the past, your mistakes, and it's irrelevant when you accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior. It's irrelevant. He is just waiting for you to come to Him. He's going to redeem all the time that you missed, all the time that you may have lost or may have think you lost. He's just waiting.
Now, why did she, it's interesting when you talk about her father was waiting for her. You would think maybe the other way around. Why did Kai attract to abusive relationships, staying in this self-punishment cycle for years?
She felt it's guilt. Guilt. She was feeling like she didn't deserve any better. And so she was kind of, you're right, she was kind of punishing herself for what she didn't know, the mistakes that she made. She didn't feel like, she deserved love, and she must not have, because her mother didn't love her and her father, walked out, and, she must not have deserved it. So she was kind of punishing herself and kind of accepting what she could get, because that was all that she deserved. And she didn't come to know that she deserved better until much later.
Yeah, and we had a guest here on Off the Shelf. She was in an abusive relationship she was a pastor's wife, and her husband was abusive. She said she didn't start to come out of years of that until she asked herself, why do I think I deserve to be treated so poorly? And when she looked at it from that perspective, that's when it started to, why do I think I deserve to be treated like this? That's when she started to come out. So what happened to make Kai realize that she is worthy of love? What happened to make her finally open her eyes and see that?
Well, she was surrounded by love. She was shown what unconditional love looks like, and she was introduced to Jesus, and that was another aspect of this unconditional love that she never experienced. And so when you're surrounded by love and you're surrounded by this unconditional love, and you actually see what it looks like, it opens your eyes. It lifts the veil, and you see what's possible. And so that's kind of what happened to her when she gets into this new relationship, and he introduces her to Jesus, and he shows her how she deserves to be loved. It becomes clear to her that, oh, this is what I've been missing. This is what I deserve. This is what I'm worthy of. And now I'm not going to take anything less.
Yes. So does she ever, it sounds like that you've answered the question, but does she ever accept real love? She goes from these abusive relationships. Does she ever just accept real love, or does she continue to struggle in that area?
Well, she struggles for a while. I don't know anybody who just who doesn't have a struggle. If they've had these issues, you know, she struggles like most people that I know have struggled, you know, before you finally get it, before the light bulb comes on and stays on. But she does struggle with it for a little bit in her trust issues, you know, when you don't value yourself and you've been abused for so long, you have trouble trusting people. And so when she finally gets that trust issue and knowing who she can trust and why she can trust them and that they deserve her trust, then she's able to move past everything else and kind of sit with that love and that relationship and get over her past hurts and indiscretion.
Why is her father waiting for her to come to him? Why isn't, when you say father, are you talking about God father or her maternal father, her paternal father, her physical father?
I'm talking about both. She never, you know, when we minister to people and we introduce them to Jesus and we tell them, oh, he loves you, and you kind of think, well, why would he? He does, you know, you don't know what I've done. Why would he love me? So it's basically about her heavenly Father waiting for her to realize that he's been with her all this time and that he's loved her and he's still waiting for her. And there's a point in the book where she is reconciled with her natural father, and she pushes him away because, you know, at a point in our lives, we feel like we don't need that guidance that our earthly father can bring. But she pushes him away, but he, you know, much like our heavenly Father, he loves her and he knows that she's hurting and he's just going to wait for her. So it's about both of her. Go ahead.
Where was her father though? Okay, he's waiting for her. How old is it? Did he grow up with her? Where is he? Has he been absent from her life, and then now he's suddenly coming back?
He's been absent from her life, so she didn't grow up with him. And, you know, they say that perception is reality. And so her perception was that he ran off and he had no interest in being a father to her, when the reality was he didn't even know she existed until about halfway through the book. So, you know, her perception was, well, he must not have loved me enough, when that wasn't the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter was he didn't have any idea of her existence until he came into her life. And once he did, to show her that he loved her and to show her a love beyond her imagination at that point, he was just going to wait for her to be ready to accept him.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Timing is that very, very interesting. The be still and know how you bring a lot of different aspects for Kai, her relationships into the story. Not only her relationships with men, but then her father, and just so many. Our eternal Father did so many things that you touch on in Be Still and Know. What do you get? So you get your where are you the inspiration for your titles? I love your titles. Where does the inspiration for them come from?
The Bible mostly.
Okay.
Most of my books will start with a scripture, or I'll be, listening to something, or somebody will be ministering to me, and something they say will stick. And I usually craft the story around that. But sometimes the inspiration comes from, I worked in a hospital for many years, and so sometimes I'll have a conversation with a patient, and then it'll just kind of take off into a story. And then in my research and in my study, I'll, the title comes to me. I never try to force the title. I usually just try to, wait for God to speak it to me, and then go with it.
Okay. Now, can you introduce us to, as we come to the last 15 minutes in today's off-the-shelf show here with Cassietta, I got to say this right, Cassietta Jefferson.
Yes.
Can you introduce us, Cassietta, to your book, Shades of Brown?
Oh, Shades of Brown. That was probably the most fun for me to write. And it started off as a short story that kind of evolved. Shades of Brown is about four friends, four childhood friends who grow up, and it's how their lives intertwine and how they support each other, and how like sister friends do. They fight, they argue, they don't always agree, but end of the day, they love each other, they support each other, and they have each other's backs, and that's what Shades of Brown is about.
Four friends. So can you introduce us to Asami, Benita, Morgan, and Sienna? What are these women like? How are they similar? How are they different? If you had to just do a character intro for each of them, how would you describe these four women?
So they are so different. They are all so different, but they are all so much alike. And the story was born from a couple of my good girlfriends who, we used to, go and have breakfast and just kind of, chop it up and talk about life and everything. And, health issues occur and, job issues occur. But, at the, we end each week together having breakfast. So Asami is the more reserved, quiet-natured person. So she's the one who's always going to be there for you. She might not have a whole lot to say, but she's always going to be there for you. Benita is very outspoken. She's got something to say about everything. I think we all have one good girlfriend like that. She always got something to say. And she's the one who is most likely to fly off the handle and go be 0 to 10 in 2.5 seconds. So that's Benita. Morgan is your motherly figure. She just wants to take care of everybody. She's going to be that girlfriend who always has a pot of coffee and some food on the stove when you need to talk. And she's going to be the shoulder for you to cry on, and she's going to have a good hug for you, waiting for you. She's the one who's got whatever they need. And Sienna is my favorite. She is the voice of reason. She is everyone's go-to. She's always got a good word of wisdom. She's got your back. Whatever you need, she can help you find it. She's my feminine version of Hustle Man. She's got a word for you. She's got if you need a Social Security number, she's got your back. If you need some cookware, she knows where to find it. She's that girlfriend, but she's always got you.
Okay. They all sound like phenomenal women in their own way. They all bring something amazing to me to the table. Now, how is Asami, Benita, Morgan, and Sienna, these four amazing women, how is their friendship tested in Shades of Brown?
Oh man, much like life, Morgan has some health concerns. She has, tragedy strikes her home. She has a husband who gets into a very tragic car accident. One of the other women, Bonita, she has a health crisis of her own. It's a life or death situation, and her faith is tested. She has to ask herself, is she really going to believe what this Bible says? Another one of them, Asami, which was probably my most difficult to write, she had faced miscarriages and trouble conceiving, and so she had those struggles going on, and trying to deal with have faith enough for her husband's lack of faith, and those kinds of issues. And then my girl Sienna, she's dealing with a new business and starting up a business and stepping out on faith in that respect, and then dealing with some things that she's done in her past as far as giving up a child for adoption and having that child come back to her. So there's a lot of life challenges in the pages of these books.
But their friendship with each other, does that get tested? I mean, they're going through their challenges, and it definitely sounds like you have enough conflict in the story to keep readers turning the pages. It sounds like these women, they never turn on each other, which they have a real, true, deep friendship bond, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, but we our girlfriend tries to tell us something that we don't want to hear. That's not what we want to hear at this time. I want you to commiserate with me. I don't want your sage advice. But yeah, their friendship is tested because you don't want to always hear what's best for you or what somebody else might think is best for you, and what they think might not be what you know. And so yeah, their friendship is tested. It's kind of like if you don't agree with me, why are you here with me? Are you really my friend, or are you just here for the show? That kind of thing. So yeah, their friendship is definitely tested.
Now, what type of writing process? You've written for an anthology. One of your novels started as a short story. One you wrote on a dare. You can't write a novel in 7 days, and you pulled it off. What type of writing process do you follow when you're putting together a story, be it for an anthology, a short story, or a novel? Do you begin with an outline? Do you do character sketches? For our listeners who themselves are writers, what type of process do you follow when you're creating a story?
I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of girl. I tried outline. Outlines don't usually work for me, so I have a general outline. It's really generic. Maybe so many chapters. This happens at the beginning. This happens at the end, and then I fill in the middle. I try to stick with a schedule. Lately, my writing schedule hasn't. I haven't been able to stick to it, but I have a schedule. I start writing at a particular time, and I will go usually until a stopping time, and I try to stick to that. Sometimes I go way beyond the stopping time, but I always start with prayer and meditation, and I try to visualize the end of the book. So all that stuff in the middle happens, and I know kind of where I want to end. So I'll say it this way to make it easy for people who's listening. I start with the end. I know where I want to start, and I know where I want to end, and I start writing the book with the end in mind.
I've heard somebody else share tip as an author? How do you want to start with the end in mind? Can you please share 3 to 4 steps that you take that you found to be effective at getting the word out about your stories and books?
First of all, word of mouth. Word of mouth is so key. People don't necessarily buy your product if they don't like and trust and know you. So you want to get to know people and let them know you, not the facade that you might want them to know, but know the real you. And then let them know that you have this project out, you're writing this book, you're working on it, and then the word spreads from there. That person tells somebody else, they tell 3 or 4 of their friends, they share it on social media, and so word of mouth is key. Also, partnering with people who've got this marketing promotion things down. People like Paulette Harper, who's got a good handle on it. So you partner with people who can help you get the word out about your project. Social media is so important. I've had a social media fast for a while, but I'm going to be back on social media. Just it's such an effective key to promotion. And then tell your story. Tell your story. Just much like we've done here when I'm having coffee with my girlfriends, just kind of telling your story, and that gets them engaged and invested, and so they want to share it. Yeah, so word of mouth, social media, and partnering with good, effective promotion and marketing specialists.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing those tips. And then the writing one for those who are looking to write a book, maybe you try starting with the end in mind and then take your writing from there. Now, where can listeners, off-the-shelf listeners, get copies of your books, Cassietta?
You can get them on Amazon. They are all available on Amazon.com. Also, my website is now back up and running. It's www.ArthurCassiettaJefferson.com. I had to change it up a little bit. They're available at the website and also on Facebook. You can shop on Facebook if you go to my author page, Cassietta Jefferson. You can find me on Facebook and you can purchase there. Or you can purchase from me directly in and around the city. I usually have a couple of books with me. If you see me, flag me down, stop me, send me a text message, I have you.
Now, this is in Las Vegas. If you see her in Vegas, which is a town where so much is happening, she says she keeps. And speaking about keeping books on you, do you have any upcoming speaking engagements? And if so, can you share some of the upcoming events you're going to be at, whether you're speaking, doing a book signing, etc.?
The anthology, we will have the ladies who shared in this anthology series with me. There will be a book signing and a speaking engagement at the San Pablo Library, and that's going to be on November the 10th. There at the library, starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 1:30 to 5 o'clock p.m. and that's on November 10th. I'm not in the area, so it's going to be kind of a challenge. So I'm probably not going to make it there. But definitely, if you're in the San Pablo area, that's in Northern California, please, please, please go out. You will not be disappointed. These are some phenomenal women, and you do want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, and Miss Paulette, she's got it going. She's going to get that rise from the ashes. And what a powerful stories in there. And I thank you for the story you shared in Arise from the Ashes, and also for the books that you write, and not only to entertain, but to encourage and inspire. And to our off-the-shelf listeners, as we come to an end to today's show, we have had the absolute pleasure of speaking with Miss Cassietta Jefferson, and she is the author She has a story in Arise from the Ashes, which is an anthology, and her story is titled Not Forgotten After the Storm. She's also the author of the books Shades of Brown, Be Still and Know, and Timing is Everything. And she gave us her website URL, and you guys can go check her out at Author, CASSIETTA JEFFERSON.com, Author CASSIETTA She's on Facebook, and are you on Twitter as well? I know you said you're going to get back out there on the social media.
You know, I am on Twitter, Author C. Jefferson on Twitter. I'm going to get back out there.
Okay, we're looking forward to seeing you out there. And remember, you guys, what we started with this morning, the past cannot be changed. The future is yet in your power. We want to thank author CASSIETTA Jefferson. Please go out and get a copy of her book, as well as get a copy of Love Pour Over Me. We want to thank CASSIETTA for being here with us today and taking time, her precious time, to join us here on Off the Shelf this morning. Please set your clock. Just write a note on your calendar that you're going to tune in to Off the Shelf every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time or New York City time. There's so much you can gain from listening to Off the Shelf. And remember this Sunday to set your clock back an hour if you're in the United States in an area that honors daylight savings time. We fall back an hour November the 4th, so just sending you a reminder to do that. And remember that you are incredible, you're awesome, you're amazing. Go out and create a fabulous day for yourself. See you back here next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. CASSIETTA, I'll shoot you an email when the show finishes streaming. Bye for now.